everyone, it's finally warmed up in the UK this week, so hopefully the frosts are finished in this part of the UK, so no more frost, and it means that I can put all my tender plants outside. So this week I'll show you how I go about designing my garden for the summertime, how I place the plants out and what factors I consider when piecing my garden together for the summer. So of course in any garden, evergreens or hardy evergreens such as these wonderful palms and yuccas that I have in my garden are crucial for a good garden design, to create a good backbone of all year round interest. So I have my Brahia armata palm, which I've covered many times on previous videos, the Beauty odorata too, the Yucca gigantea, which is only borderline hardy but managed to come through this winter. Of course I've got the Acacia dealbata and the Eucalyptus gunnii, which I covered on a pruning video a few weeks back. I have my small Trachycarpus wagnerianus just there, and the hardy Chefra taiwaniana, and then at the back my Trachycarpus fortunii, which I planted on Easter Sunday this year. So all these evergreens are just fantastic for adding height and interest all year round, in particularly for the winter. So next what I'll do is I'll start taking the plants out of my utility room and my conservatory and place them around the garden to add height. So I'll be starting off with my tallest plants and placing them out and swapping them round until I'm happy with the design. So I've put the Vasconcelia, or so-called hardy pawpaw, down here to fill up this space with their tallness. They need to be quite close together so that they will produce fruit. One's in flower at the moment, and you need to have plants of different sexes to produce the fruit. They can actually switch sexes to balance out the amount of males and females within the plant group themselves, which is amazing. You can see there's actually a gap to the right hand side. I've left that because there's actually a canna which is actually overwintered. The first canna to show growth after the winter. It's one of the hardiest cannas. This is Iridiflora Imanii, which is a pink, nodding pink flowered canna. And like I say, this is the first one that's emerged for me this year after the winter. And I know that gets quite tall, so obviously I can't put anything tall there. I've also got the hardy Helianthus salicifolius, or the willow-leaved sunflower, which is grown for foliage, which grows to about 2 meters tall. And I just have to be careful how I plant this Vasconcelia here, because I've got Impatiens tinctoria, white flowered borderline hardy Impatiens, and that's just emerging there too. So next to my Trachycarpus and Russ, I've placed a white sunflower tree just here, which I grew from seed in January, seed from Mike Clifford, and this is Rohacinanthe superba that can grow up to 12 feet tall and with white flowers. And next to that, behind that, I've got Fuchsia boliviana, which is already quite tall, and that will have pendulous red flowers. So next up on my Enzetti bananas, I've got 3 different types here. They've been overwintering in my utility room. It did get colder than I would have liked. It got down to 4 degrees this year, so just about scraped through. And I'll be placing these around the garden next, because these are very vigorous. I put on tons of growth every year. So I've got here 3 different types. So you can see here, this one here is the green one. They're all looking a bit battered, but I'm going to trim off some of the older leaves. So this one actually grew from seed some time ago. So this one's just a plain Enzetti Ventriculum, and you can see I grew this from seed on the 1st of March 2019. So you can see it's got a good chunky base already, probably about 20-25 centimetres across at the base. I've then got my Morellii, which is a lovely cultivar, which is red-leaved but fairly compact. And then I have the one which I bought last year. Of course I put all these on my last year's videos, and this one is Montebelliardii, which I bought last year from Jungle Plants, and this is much taller than Morellii, and the leaves take on not only a red colour but a purple colour too to the leaf. You can just see it's starting to appear on this one. These have got much longer, narrower leaves than the Morellii, and much more upright in growth. So there is quite a few of aphids on these leaves, but they'll soon clear up after being outside, and I may trim off some of the broken old leaves anyway. But yeah, you can see some aphids here, the birds such as blue tits, and of course insects such as ladybirds will soon clear them up. So after trimming one or two of the leaves off the ensetes, I've placed them out. I've placed the plain green leaved form Enzetti Ventriculum more or less where I had it last year, down this end of the garden, where I'm going to plant predominantly greens to get a green, lush, jungly look. And it will also provide a bit of contrast with that leaf shape next to, you know, the other palm, the Trachycarpus wagnerianus, the hardy pawpaw, and the strap-like leaves of the Bes corneria. So obviously it's important to consider leaf shapes, contrasting leaf shapes when putting plants together. I've put the other bananas on the other side of the garden. So I've got Montebelliardii here, which will fill that space. There's some cannas nearby, Singapore girl. It's too early to say whether they've survived the winter, but you can see the Melianthus major next to that, they're coming through nicely. And Musa Bananas grown away lovely. I did give everything a good feed of bloodfish and bone and chicken manure pellets on Friday night before we had heavy rain all day yesterday or Saturday in the UK, which brought the warmer air with it, which is fantastic. And then we've got the Enzetti Ventriculum Morellii with its red leaves just here. So yep, they'll all add quite a lot of height to this bed during the summer months. I've placed the Musa Bananas, which is new to cultivation, just here, next to the Stipa gigantea as it used to be called, and that should add a bit of height around here. I'm just in the process of planting this Enzetti Montebelliardii, and I've got to be careful that I don't bury it too deeply, because it can cause rotting on many plants if you bury it too deep. So this here is called the Nursery Mark, the level in which the plant was grown previously in a pot of compost. So it's important to keep that at the same level when you plant, not to cover it too deeply up the trunk, because if you bury the trunk it can cause it to rot. Okay, so all planted. So you can see that I've planted it just at the right level, so you can see that's where the previous compost was before, and it's in a pot. And I've top dressed it with some bloodfish and bone and some pelleted chicken manure to give it a good start. And obviously in the conditions that we've got at the moment, so it's in the mid-teens Celsius with lots of rain showers. Obviously it's got plenty of moisture for the roots and to also wash the fertiliser in. I will just give it a light watering, and then that's all I need to do. So along with the enzettes, I've placed out some Musa Bananas. Obviously these will grow tall just like the Enzetti Bananas. This one's Helen's hybrid, which reputedly produces edible fruits but with big seeds. So we'll see how that goes. It's looking really good. I did grow that from seed last year, I think it was, maybe the year before. And this one here is Sycamensis cross paradisiaca, so that's looking good too. So I'm just looking at my Musa Helen's hybrid, and as you can see it's got an excellent root system. So I'm going to plant this exactly how I've just planted the Enzetti Montbelliardii. In fact, I've just looked at the label and it was indeed grown from seed on the 4th of May last year, so it's just a little over a year old, and it's already looking like a decent sized plant, and you can see that it's got lovely red undersides to the leaf. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how this does outside in the UK summer. Of course I will dig it up for the winter and overwinter it in my utility room like I did last year. Got down to 4 degrees, but as long as it doesn't go too much below freezing, it's fine for the winter. One house plant that does really well outside in the UK for the summer is Chefra Arboricola Varigata. So I'm really surprised why more people don't put theirs outside. I've had this for many years now, and for the winter time I keep it in my conservatory, which is unheated. It got down to just under 3 degrees this winter, and by keeping it on the drier side, it's completely happy. As you can see, it's looking really good. I'm not sure if it's pot, and the root system's good, and I've dug out a good sized planting hole for it, and it grows really quickly. It can put on certainly a foot or maybe more, sometimes 2 or 3 foot of growth every year outside for the summertime, and I'm sure you'll agree it gives a real tropical or subtropical look. Next up, I've planted my Enzetti Ventriculum, which I grew from seed 2 years ago, and my first Vasconcelia pubescens, or the hardy pawpaw. I've planted these exactly like the other Enzettis, and I'm going to continue planting all the big plants in the ground first, followed by the medium plants, and then obviously the smallest plants, and obviously add my house plants last when the weather conditions warm up. So just have a quick tour around the garden. I think you'll agree it's looking quite nice already. And my Strelitzia regina, or bird of paradise, is in bloom now. It spent the winter in the conservatory. Looking stunning. It's late this year, normally flowers in April. Obviously it's been a colder winter in the UK this year, so we've actually got it outside in full bloom. So I've placed out most of my plants outside now, apart from the house plants, which need a bit more warmth. I might not put those outside until June when the weather really warms up. But on the whole, the decking area is getting quite big now, full of plants. So you see most of my bromeliads are outside. Obviously I will perhaps change the display as I plant more and more stuff into the ground. And obviously I will be repainting the decking once I'm happy with all the planting, once that's done, the painting the decking will be the final thing to do. So I've moved most of the houseplants that were in my living room for the winter months into my conservatory now to acclimatise before being put outside in the relatively cool UK summers. So you can see I've got a nice bromeliad here which will turn orange and red. That's Ecmia blanchettiana. Also got the Sansevierias, as they used to be called, the mother-in-law's tongue, which are now called Dracaena. I've got Hibiscus rosa sinensis, Alocasia macrorrhiza, some Begonia rex, and Cordyline fruticosa hybrids. On the other side I've got some other houseplants here, so Bromeliad Vreesia astrid and Musa dwarf Cavendish, a spider plant Chlorophytum, some Dracaena there, and I've got another Dracaena, some Dracaenas over here too, and some more Begonia here. Tridescantia pallida purple heart, and an Ecmia fasciata, and some nice irisines here. So we've got blazing rose and brilliantissima. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll show you next week how my garden progresses now it's all been planted out, and see you next week. Bye.